Nice to see you today. Okay. Well, I think we're going to get started here this morning. I'm very happy today that that Lucy's finally had a chance, to finish up her what you were doing, what, an MBA type of thing?
Getting it, yeah, but so I'm only about halfway through and I had my accounting, it was a 5-hour accounting final on Monday. So I'm not an accountant. I'm glad I never went into accounting because I don't have a knack for that, but the final exam was on Monday. So now I'm free and clear of that class. Then my other classes start.
And we'll welcome Allison back in here from a second also. So we'll get all set up here. Good morning, Allison.
Hello there.
And how are you this fine morning?
I'm good, thank you. Having some internet issues, so I might have to pop in and out of video.
That's okay. These things happen from, popping in and out and all that. Okay, well, this morning, I think what, like I said, basically our normal thing is we have a little introduction for our candidates. And since Lucy, this is our first time joining you, I'd like you to start off. Let's talk about who you are, why you're running, and those kind of things.
Okay, great. Yes, my name is Lucy Evans and I'm running for Naperville City Council. The one thing that people tend to remember about me is that I used to be a Secret Service agent. And so I usually try to let that sink in because I have a lot more to say, but then they just kind of back up and say, wait, what was that? So I used to be a Secret Service agent. I served under George W. Bush after 9/11. So, but I am a civil engineer. That is, I am a licensed professional civil engineer with over 12 years of experience in both the public and the private sector. And I do love being a public servant. I have over 8 years of experience as an engineer and a law enforcement officer in the public sector. So I'm running because I care deeply about my community. I love Naperville and I want my elected officials to make responsible decisions for people like me. I am a married mother of 3. My 3 kids go to Naperville Central, Madison Junior High, and Meadow Glens Elementary School. And I'm a former stay-at-home mom, and I'm a former single mom. I want to help build a sustainable Naperville through the triple bottom line, which is people, planet, and prosperity. Our people have a right to feel safe, included, and accepted. Our planet needs a lot of work and there are a lot of things that we can do to help. My specialty is hydrologic. I'm a water resources engineer, so flood control is definitely in my wheelhouse and same with environmental sustainability. So I want us to work on flood control, reduce our energy consumption, reduce our pollution output, and preserve our wildlife habitat. And prosperity. Naperville is one of the most prosperous cities and we want to preserve that. So, but if we want to preserve our way of life, we do need to change our way of life. We need to get with the times. We need to embrace technology and green infrastructure. I'm running a grassroots campaign. A lot of people have never heard of me. And
a lot more people know of you now, I think, Lucy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, very much congratulations to receiving that Daily Herald endorsement. That's a big deal.
That was a wonderful surprise. And Mark, you were the first person to tell me about. So I was recently endorsed by the Daily Herald. And I woke up to a text from Mark saying, congratulations. I was like, wait, what? So it was a nice surprise, and thank you for being the one to tell me.
Oh, I was thrilled for you, and I was interested. I wonder, they mentioned in there your innovative thinking. What particular is there something what were they talking about there? Do you think?
Yeah, we haven't been in all of the same forums all the time because there's so many of us candidates that sometimes they break it up. So I don't always hear what you have to say and you don't always hear what I have to say. One of the things that I brought up in a couple forums is the thought of possibly putting in an incubator, for a business incubator for small businesses. My hometown is Portland, Oregon, and they have this thing called the Portland Incubator Experiment. And the marketing firm for Nike is Wyden and Kennedy, and they started this incubator where they want to help businesses launch. And so one part of the incubator is Portland. It's a very hip town. Everybody loves mom and shop businesses. They love an underdog and they love these different businesses. So one thing that they did was in a really hip up and coming part of town, they had a spot for different pop-up type shops, and they let these people, I think they either rented it for really cheap or gave it to them for free. They said, hey, start your business, launch it here. And everybody was there already. They already had the foot traffic. And so if it was a good concept, they got all these customers and they built up their business. And then they said, okay, your time is up, move to another part of the city. You've got your customers now, and move to another part of the city that needs to be rehabilitated also. So they kept launching all these businesses. So that's one of the things that I mentioned in a forum that I don't know if you heard it. And then there's a lot of things that I've discussed about smart city technology, the self-driving cars, they are coming. Then there's a lot of technology that can help us with sustain our way of life. You know, we've got overcrowding, we've got our energy consumption. If we can change the peak times, if we can use our smart meters, if we can use our technology to schedule like the laundry, the dishes, all that kind of stuff, we really can cut down on our energy consumption and our energy, the capacity. Solar energy only works when we have sunlight. So there's different things that we need to work around to accommodate the sheer number of humans that are here with us. So that might be what they were talking about.
That's interesting, and it's very good. Okay, well, I'm going to go on to another relatively newcomer for us. Andrew, could you tell us a little bit? You're running for College DuPage, I believe, and didn't I think I also saw you recently receive some endorsements out there, I thought.
Yeah, so I am running for the College DuPage Board of Trustees in a crowded field, 3 open spots, 8 total candidates. Spoke last time, and I just love, as I said last time, Mark, I love that you host this and have this opportunity for literally everyone just to come on and have that sit down conversation of as I said last time, that living room feel, which I just love. And I think we need more of. A little bit about
to get rid of those 2-minute speeches that we get so many times.
I hate those with a passion, and it's so awkward. Awkward just to tell about yourself, but you know, it's much better to have a collaborative approach and just have that conversation and that natural feel to it. So I'm running for COD. Big things that I want to work on is increasing enrollment, work to build upon the Guided Pathways program, which is identifying what the end goal or end outcome is for the student, not a one-size-fits-all approach of identify that end outcome, end goal, and then latch onto that and then work backwards to make sure that the student achieves that end outcome, that end goal in the most efficient and affordable way possible. And then having a Guided Pathways Plus, which is bridging the gap between classroom and career, working with businesses in the community and other people in the community to latch onto the students of COD and really say, hey, if this is the career that you want, you can work with me in an apprenticeship type of program or training model to really bridge that gap. And so once they graduate or they receive that certificate, they have that avenue to go for either mentorship or a job. And I think those in the community love students from COD. They know that they're passionate about that career. They know that they're well educated, and it's a perfect feeding ground for that type of give and take from COD to members of the community. Always want to be accountable and transparent with the process, afford more opportunities for students, and obviously laser focused on student success. Because if the students succeed, COD succeeds and the community succeeds. And then overarching, just making sure that we have that conversation with the community, really put the community back in community college and make sure it's a collaborative approach just like this.
Great, that's fantastic. Allison, good morning. You know, hello,
good afternoon. Happy lunchtime.
You know, I always say that, don't I? I always get this wrong.
No, I actually don't know. Actually, I don't know if you always say that. You might always get it right, but I
never get it right because I always think I start this thing in my mind just before noon, so it's morning time. But by the time we get to this, it's always afternoon. I'm going to try to bring Vince back in. He seems to be having lots of problems this morning. But Allison, I see you've got a bunch of events coming up. You've got things, a couple meet and greets over the next few days, don't you?
Yeah, we've got one
Tonight?
today, and there's one on either Saturday or Sunday, and isn't ICN this weekend as
I was
well?
going to mention that. Yeah, we all have ICN again this weekend, so we'll get a chance to work on those 2-minute speeches one more time. You know,
Are there, yeah, what's the format for that one? Is it 2 minutes or 1 minute or?
I don't think they've told us. I don't think they've told us, and I hate that because you never know. You know, at least what I really enjoyed this last time around was, you know, I thought the League of Women Voters thing was really good. I liked the 1 minute.
I like the 1 minute as well, because it forces you to not ramble.
Yes,
It's good. Yeah, it's a good way to be nice and succinct. And I mean, it's hard to get in any like really meaty stuff, but it is a way to limit the amount of chit chatty type stuff. So
Yeah, it is. And I think it's a very effective format. Now, you know, we talk about endorsements. You've got a couple of them out there at least, right? Don't you? You recently, Amy Chavez came out?
yeah, Amy Chavez and Lauren Underwood. You know, and then some, you know, just, you know, the support, Plainfield Pride, and, you know, I did the Go Humane Pledge and
Sure.
Indivisible Naperville, and
That's right.
Yeah.
That just one came out too. So that's been really good. Those are really good things. I see that one of my favorite people has joined the meeting here. There's a Ashvac who's here. Always a pleasure to have him amidst us. So for what it's worth, those of you who don't know him, this is probably the hardest working guy I've run across in the entire campaign. He has been involved in virtually every event I've seen. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know when you sleep. I don't know when you eat. All I know is you're always working, Ashvac. I just don't know. And you've got we were just talking, your event, ICN event is coming up, right?
Yes, Mark, thank you so much. So we have an ICN event, Meet the Candidate, with 11 candidates. We have invited all the candidates on Saturday, 4 o'clock, and around 400 to 500 community members will be attending that event from ICN.
That's fantastic. I mean, the ICN community is so very active. You know, we had a question for you though. Do you know the format? Are we 2 minute, 1 minute, 3 minute? Do we know what that's going to be?
Yeah. So just I have prepared the agenda yesterday and shared it in my with my team. So it will be a 2 minute.
Great.
You know, people have to talk about themselves, introduce and present themselves, and then we will have question and answers with that.
Same kind of thing, 2 minute answer type of deal. Are you going to do the round robin sort of deal that the first person answers the question, moves to the back of the line and does that?
Yeah, so we're done with alphabetics. So the people who start with the A, B, C. So that is the you know, lineup which we have organized, and so we will we will have that lineup.
Well, that's how you start, but are you going to keep it that way all the way? Because us poor guys like Benny White and me, we're always at the back end of the world, you know? And by the time we get there, all the brilliant candidates ahead of us have said all the smart things, you know? And all we can say is, you know, yeah, that was what, you know, Benny was right, and Ellis was right, and Ian was right, and they've already said it. It's like, you know, it makes us look like we're dummies. That's why you should rotate a little bit, you know? Help us out. Let us get a chance to move up in the queue. I mean, it's not our fault.
Put it on its head and put reverse alphabetical order.
Yeah, something, you know, this is a bit discriminatory on the alphabet, I think. I don't know how I feel about that, Ashvac. I don't know.
We have been using this format for last 5 years now. And we started this format in 2016. And every elections and, you know, local or national elections, we have been using this format. So we followed the same format and policy. That is the thing.
Okay, well, you know, don't be afraid to progress. You know, evolution is not a bad thing. You know, particularly for those of us at the end of the alphabet.
Yeah.
You know, that's just not going to work. That means that, what does that mean? Chaka goes first every time. You know, but,
we could do it in ballot order. But that would also be the same thing for you and Benny, because you're at the end.
We're at the end anyhow. We can't, you know.
And I'm in the middle, so it doesn't change.
I just like the way that, you know, of all the things we've done, the best one, without a doubt, we were just saying, was League of Women Voters, because the way they do it, short 1 minute questions, and they rotated that order, so whoever went first, it moved up. And that's really, you think I'm kidding, but it is true, because you want to say something that's meaningful to the crowd, right? You want to be able to say something, but when everybody's like 8 people have gone ahead of you on the subject, it's like, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot of new things I could say. And I'm not complaining, and I understand you've done it that way. I'm just saying, as a candidate, hear my plea, you know. And I mean, I know you're a man of influence, and that's why I say, Ashfaq, you can do this.
I got it, Mark. I got it.
I understand. But anyhow, that's really great. No, we're very excited. Like I said, that's a really good thing. You know, that's going on there. Allison, we didn't give you a chance to give you a famous pitch. We should give you at least the running for Naperville pitch.
Well, actually, I have one more question for Ashfaq. So the answers, are they 2 minutes or 1 minute for our answers?
Okay, so we wanted to keep it a very short and sweet. So presentation is for 2 minutes, and the answers we wanted, question and answers, that we wanted in 30 seconds.
Oh,
Ooh, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that's actually, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay.
That's
Yeah.
All right.
Because,
I was just curious. And
Yeah.
well, and that you get more questions that way too.
right,
Yeah.
right. And that's actually great to know.
And Mark,
Yeah.
you might actually get a chance then to say something original, you know?
There's
Yeah,
a, like,
'cause you'll
there's a
get to
slight
you.
chance of that. There's a slight chance. You know, originality hasn't proven to be my strongest suit. I don't know, you know, for what it's worth. But I want to. No, I'm very excited about that. I mean, we're almost at the end. I think after ICN, the only other thing I'm aware of that's a candidate forum is ICO, right? The Indian Community one. That's
What about Chamber of Commerce?
Oh, Chamber of Commerce is on Monday.
That's Monday.
That's on Monday. That's right. That's right. Thank you. That's going to be an interesting one also.
Yeah.
You know, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyhow, my little pitch is I'm Mark Erda. I'm also running for city council. You know, we have 11 candidates. For those of us who are in a crowded field, we all understand that, you know, we are going to get 4 good council people out of this one way or another. I mean, it's a talented field. It's a diverse field. And I think that it's exciting. For me, this has been a great process. I think what the biggest part about what's been really good for me is really meeting the people and working with the people that are involved. You know, that's been really an awesome situation. So, you know, I know we have Phil and we've got Marilyn here to represent the public along with Ashfaq. And I'm wondering if they have any questions for us this morning. Oh, Julie has a question. Okay. What do you got, Jules?
This is directed at Lucy, but I think it applies to all of the candidates also. What I'm wondering is, you know, where do you see the energy reliance on coal going? I realize we're under contract. Some things don't, but in the meantime, we have a way to ramp up. And what avenues do you see are going to be most effective?
Oh, absolutely. I wish the conversation about the contract would be put aside. We're in the contract. You know, if we spend more time talking about the contract, we're going to miss our opportunity to work. We are part of the IMEA, like it or not, but we are 35%. If we team up with St. Charles, which is 15%, we've got 50% there. Our membership is very strong. So I think we should use our power as the biggest member of IMEA to push for clean energy. And that coal, we might, if the Clean Energy Act does pass, we will be under obligation to move away from coal, shut that plant down possibly by 2030. So it's not going to be a question of whether or not we want it. It's going to be a question of how do we do that? How do we make that transition? We need to stop with the conversation about, you know, pointing fingers. You know, if a decision is made that we need to make that transition, we need to find a way to do it. It will be expensive. So we need to start inoculating the public about how much it's going to cost. It's going to cost what it costs, because if we don't want to be Texas, we want reliable power, we're going to have to start getting in front of this too. So I do think that we need to push as a member of IMEA to move away to put more money into renewables, to figure out a way to move away from the coal plant. I hope I answered your question.
I think that's great, but I like to use this as a segue into somebody who's very passionate about
Yes,
the sustainability issue and who's joined us right now. I'd like to have Ian say a few words about his campaign. And, you know, you've caught just the end of this conversation. I know you're deeply involved in this. Love your thoughts, Ian. What do you got?
Well, first of all, thank you for hosting me, Mark. And I love love the question. This is so important. Love Lucy's comments. I thought they were excellent. I'm at work right now, so you know that's why I'm 20 minutes late. Apologize about that.
Got to pay the bills.
Sure. When you hear this argument about a contract, okay, there's two parts to a contract. It's not just the person that's paying money, it's also the party that's delivering services. And let's be totally clear here. The facility that was built in Marissa, Illinois, did not come close to delivering what was promised on their end of the contract. Okay, it came in at twice over budget. It's going to be, something like $1 billion that taxpayers will end up having to pay over the life of the contract for the cost overruns that the other party to this contract caused through poor planning, poor execution, many things, right? A decade ago, it was so bad that City Council very seriously considered suing for a breach of contract because we weren't getting what we should have. So I think it's a little dismissive to just say we can't do anything because there's a contract out there. Additionally, and this may have been mentioned earlier in the call, I apologize if it was, but as many of you are here are probably aware, the Rocky Mountain Institute recently published a study showing that it may actually be cheaper in the very near future for us to walk away from this contract, even if there's a cost to it, and switch to forms of energy which are both cleaner and cheaper. Final comment I'll make is, we have a very big focus on this plant in Marissa, Illinois, which we should, because it generates a majority of our power here in Naperville, and it's a very dirty plant. It's one of the 10 largest greenhouse gas generating plants in the country. But there are other opportunities for us to improve, even within the boundaries of our contract with the IMEA. So 25% of IMEA's power comes from a coal power campus in Trimble County, Kentucky. And the contracts for Trimble County Energy end in 2021 and 2026. So that's the very, very near term future. In fact, if we get elected to council, we're talking about something a few months from now. As the largest buyer within IMEA by a huge margin, okay, we buy more than a third of IMEA's power. The next nearest consumer maybe buys 9 or 10%. For us to not have a seat on the board, for us to not be demanding that they switch away from Trimble County coal is a great lost opportunity. Elections have consequences, and I'd ask that people pay very close attention to the stances of their candidates on clean energy. So I've been speaking for a while. Thank you again for the opportunity to come here, Mark, and I'll turn it over to somebody.
Ian, I'm delighted that your schedule finally allowed it, because I think you've been a leading voice in this area. I think it's a very good one. I think there's some confusion maybe by what my comments were made as legal in the voters. What I was trying to say there is that, yes, the comments, well, this is a technical thing, this is a finance thing. At the end of the day, it's going to require exactly what Lucy is saying and what you're saying, is that you have to bring pressure on IMEA to make these changes. In talking to, the head of NED, which is now Brian Goff, he was very, let's just say, less than optimistic that any of those changes could happen. However, your point, Lucy's point, is a key point, that we are major players in this. There is a lot of issues relative to that coal plant long term. There's 7 different things across about 5 different states. So it's a challenge. But if an effort is to be made, it's going to have to be made both at a legal side and also at a legislative side to bring about the ability to close that plant if you want to do it. And you're right, that PRI report is very good about the possibilities of it's going to be cheaper, potentially even absorbing the bonds by 2030, potentially, to use alternate energy. which is a really good thing, you know? So that's a good thing. I went to
I
McDonald's.
guess, so that's my point as a consumer, is I want to see the focus on from the council come to moving away more than I am talking about suing these people and spending my money that way. I want the money to be spent on clean energy. So as we are in a position, even to walk away from this contract, or because it ends, we're just like, bye-bye, or we're down to 5% of you guys, have a good time. I want us to be focused on where we are in Naperville more than on legislation at the state level or suing these guys, because we've spent enough money in this city suing things that it hasn't come about, when we could have been spending that money right here in Naperville, i.e. the Park District suing the state at a COVID time.
Really, I
You know,
completely
we won't
agree.
even go there.
Yeah.
And the one thing I would like to also add, though, is that that's our source of energy is just one component. We really need to reduce our energy consumption. There is so much we can do to reduce our energy consumption. The Springbrook wastewater treatment plant consumes so much energy. We need to change our operations to reduce our energy consumption. You know, we talk about different taxes and everything. If we can, you know, or I guess it's kind of also one of those things where it's like, stop wasting food, stop wasting energy, stop wasting all this stuff. And then the cost to provide renewable energy will be lower. Like for myself, I put solar panels on my house last year, and it's just one house, but if everyone, or as many people as we can get, can put solar panels on their house, and it's affordable, that'll help too. So that helps bring us closer to being to reducing our reliance on coal as well.
Thank you. Marilyn, you
Okay, yes, okay, so this is something that is very dear to my heart in a couple ways, and what I'd like to do sort of right off is to just give my support for the Naperville Environmental Task Force, who, I mean, they're not candidates, they're not running, but coming up Tuesday, they're presenting their report in front of City Council. Very often when they and other people speak in front of City Council, they are lone soldiers. And I do not see pretty much any of the candidates, except for like Councilman Crewman, who really sort of supports these efforts in front of City Council meetings when they come in front of City Council. So Tuesday, their report is is going to be made. It would be wonderful, if the candidates actually read the report, submitted a statement, so that there is some kind of action behind all the words that we've been hearing, throughout the campaign. One of the things they're asking for is, for a workshop this summer, and hopefully that will be geared in the time that they actually have a sustainability staff member, which I think is a wonderful thing that would not have happened if it had not been for the task force and Councilman Crewman, pushing for it. And I mean, that's been a long time. I mean, that's been a long time coming, but there's not a large voice, for these things in council. And I don't know if people like read the agendas, and just sort of don't pay attention to it unless it's because they like it or what, but I see that with development projects, as well. It comes off looking like it's a not in my backyard kind of argument, because the only people who show up are the people who are being impacted nearby. But a lot of these discussions impact us as a community. And I mean, that's where, the voice really needs to sort of come forth. And I'm going to also just say, besides the environmental stuff, I mean, a lot of that is geared towards, for what Ness has been gearing towards, because it is such a huge undertaking, is for, climate action. But there's other things in terms of land use, which, the land use plan didn't address at all. They don't consider sustainability a part of land use, which I just find unbelievable, that, except, because I guess I consider maybe solar panels is sort of more, building, but I mean, in terms of like, the land use plan, it wasn't an issue. It's not even going to be an issue as part of the strategic initiatives that I think are coming out now, because I mean, that's a 3-year plan, and how can you do anything that is sort of like, long environmental impact beyond even, climate change stuff, when your strategic plan is being focused on something for 3 years. So I don't see that part, beyond like, sort of the climate action, what, we do for whole communities, coming forth.
Okay, well, thank you, Marilyn. I see, Phil, you got
That's my rant.
that was a good rant, though,
Okay.
is appropriate. It's interesting because I'd have to say, in defense of, I think there have been several candidates, in addition to Councilman Crummon, who've been very much speaking to the issue. Ian is clearly one of them, and Allison, I know I've heard your voice on this subject too. I know you're both, involved in this subject.
Lucy,
I'm saying during the pretty much, it's been very, very a hot topic during the campaign, but if you go and you look at city council meetings for the last 10 years, when these issues come up, it's not there. And I don't see the voices of people, coming forth. It's very silent and lonely.
Well, all you have to do is, elect Ian Allison, you won't have that problem. I assure you, those voices will be strong for that. Phil's got a couple questions out here. So, Phil, you've got one here that's a link, which I think has to do with the article that you put up relative to really the fact that the ICN project is going to be in planning and zoning until, like, what did they say, May, June or something like that? Because there are like 500 people signed up to still talk. Okay, is that what that link is?
Yeah, it is. I mean, basically what the article says is that they're looking to filibuster the next few meetings by just speaking, because planning and zoning has different rules than city council. So city council, you're limited to 3 minutes. Planning and zoning is not. There was a lawsuit a few years ago. I think it was like a Meyer or something like that. And so now they can speak. There's no limit to what you can speak. And so it's kind of unfortunate that they're using this as a way to delay the meeting and to make them go longer. Now, I do think that residents do need to be heard. And so it's not like you can squash that. But this article does say that the only things that are under consideration right now are the 3 variances. And that was whether or not a fence should be built. I don't think it should, because I think it'll make it look, more wide open into the greenway. And then there was something about the parking being slightly closer to 248th. And those are the only 2 variances that I think that are up. I mean, I know there are concerns about the traffic, which can be discussed. And there's concern about the pedestrian safety at the crosswalk. And that should be discussed, and staff should be able to answer how they are planning on addressing those 2 concerns. But it is unfortunate that they're taking advantage of the rules of planning and zoning to extend this as long as they can. I think they should have a totally separate meeting as like a town hall or something like they used to do with Fifth Avenue. There would be an entirely separate meeting dedicated to Fifth Avenue when all of the rules would apply, but it was only about Fifth Avenue. And I think they need to do the same thing here, however long it takes, just get it all done. Maybe it's going to take a full day or something, but here it is. This is what we're going to do. And at the end of it, there's going to be a vote, and then it can go to city council. Unfortunately, it's probably going to happen at city council as well when it goes there, because that will be under an entirely different set of rules. So
my hopes are really simple for this. Okay, in all honesty, I think that the concept here of the ICN is a very good concept. Community very active. Okay, the Tallgrass Homeowners Organization raised some interesting questions, and their comparatives were very interesting also. But what I believe is that what solved this problem is the continued dialogue between ICN and the homeowners. And I know everybody's committed to that. If these 2 groups could get together, okay, and this would be a thing that if I was was elected to council, I would want to definitely be involved in mediation. And I encourage Ian and Allison, I know, to get involved in this when you're successfully elected, to try to bring about that, because this process right now is too adversarial for the moment, and it doesn't need to be, because all the parties are interested in coming to resolution. Now, I heard that, and I might be wrong here, but I heard that, and I think it might have been Councilman Crumman who actually said it, that there was an agreement on like the fence, and that they had agreed to do some kind of berm or something like that. I'm not exactly turned in, know that for forever, but I do believe that everything I see from ICN tells me they are good neighbors and they want to work with their neighbors. I think that, that conversation just needs to continue, and I'm confident working together, they'll resolve the issue. Ashfact, if anybody can talk to this a little bit, if you feel like it, you're muted right now.
Mark, yes. So we have been in the city for more than 30 years now. And we have been a great neighbors for Alsan Masjid or 75 or Ogden. We have got 3 locations where we have got different activities for every community. It's not only for Muslim minority communities, but every community. And we have got Toastmasters for everybody, basketball for everybody. We have karate. A lot of activities is for everyone. That is one thing. Yes, as you said, that we are ready to, do the adjustments, whatever the neighbors, they have some issues with regarding the fencing. Yes, we agreed on that we will work on that. So we are working with the city as well as some inputs, which we got it in last couple of meetings. Based on their feedback, we started working so that we can, be a good neighbor. We don't want to get into somewhere.
You are a good neighbor. You've demonstrated that for a long time. The community has benefited by ICN for, like you say, over 30 years. And I'm confident. Now, the Tallgrass neighbors have some concerns that, need to be addressed a little bit. And I'm confident, I've had the opportunity, to talk to some of you people on your construction team. All right. Then we had, Anas Rahman was on and did a tremendous job. You put him together with those fellows from Tallgrass and continue working. I think maybe what we need to do is lock you all in a room, slide pizzas underneath the door, and let you come out when we have an agreement. Okay, sort of how I treat my software engineers.
Yes.
That's a good idea, though. That's a great idea to get them in the room together. And I've spoken to the engineers, and they've said, yeah, if you talk to any of the residents, we want to talk to them. And I've talked to some of the residents. I'm like, yes, here, I can put you in touch with the engineers, and you guys can talk. And then it seems like there's not necessarily, like, the engineers want to talk to them, but then the residents don't necessarily want to talk to the engineers. And so it's like, maybe we do need to get them all in a room together and say, hey, here you go. Here's some pizzas. Figure it out.
It seems like public meeting notices typically go out for people, within 300 yards, of a development. But I mean, that doesn't really seem today to be, far enough to really have much of a good conversation, because I mean, that means you get the public notice. And so, I mean, before something, so you get the city and the developer working together, then the public notice goes out, and that's like one, about 30, I can't remember what the time period is. It's short, but then before it goes before the PCC, there's only like 5 days. And that really puts a huge burden on my mind on the PCC, and especially for these big projects. It sort of seems that there, before anything even gets the public notice, or, the public notice period should be longer and more public meetings before it even hits the PCC. It would make, I think, a lot of these large projects a lot easier.
Makes sense. I see Vince has got his hands up, and also I didn't want to cut Ashfact off. If there's more you want to say, Ashfact, before we go over to Vince, is there, you're kind of, I look to you sort of as an ICN leader, no matter how self-effacing you may be. Okay, you're a man of influence, and I mean, we're looking to you to work with these people, make this happen. So what are your thoughts? And then Vince, I promise you, I will be right back to you.
Fine, Mark, thank you so much for the kind words. And there are my friends who live in Tallgrass, who are opposing. I spoke to some of those people to find out what exactly is the reason. And I have seen some people who are not in that area on 59 in this thing. I know some of the names who are staying north side of Naperville. I saw some people's names there. I directly spoke to those people to find out, boss, why are you are not in this area and you're not part of this 59 route and for traffic and all those things. No, somebody told me, somebody influenced me, I have done it. So I said, that is wrong completely. You know, what you have been doing is completely wrong. And some of the friends who are from a particular community, they are coming up and supporting us. They are helping us. They are speaking to their own friends who are opposing today to find out a solution. I know traffic, people are saying, fine, for traffic, we can find a solution. Where do we not have traffic? We have everywhere traffic, but we have a solution. But people are hiding behind the traffic. So we are working on those things also individually to influence those people to, you know, not carry into that, what I can say, into that hole. So that is one thing. And second thing, yes, internally, our engineers are also working closely for the exit and the fence and some of the points which people have raised. We said, yes, we wanted to change it. So definitely we are working positively on the changes. And as of now, we have a count of more than 100 plus residents of Tallgrass, our community, who are there, but they never spoke on behalf of us. So recently we had a meeting with Tallgrass people and the management. We said, boss, you should be talking, you know, neutrally for every community. It cannot be one-sided. Some 30-40 people came, they spoke to them and they decided that they represent Tallgrass. No, we have our own people, 100 people who are supporting, 100 houses are there who are supporting. So now they got little, you know, taste of this thing that even there are residents in Tallgrass who are supporting this project, who want to send their kids as well as their families to the center. You know.
That's great. Thank you very much, Asfak. Vince, your question while you're here, and then
yeah, I just more of a comment than a question. You know, I've been sitting here listening and been listening over the weeks, and there's so many good people that are running right now for these offices. And if we get enough of them in here, you know, we don't have to limit growth. We just have to change the direction of growth, you know, whether it's clean energy or other things. You know, the whole thing is the councils have gone for more growth as far as development goes. And I think we, as a community, recognize that we have to change direction in some of these and spend some of that money in different areas. And, you know, that's why I ran for this office, and I've learned more running and listening to comments like today that, and we're not going to limit ourselves in any way. In fact, it'll probably improve Naperville if we have all these ideas come focused through council take the lead. So, you know, I'm there, and I think, you know, there's some better ideas than the direction it was going before. So thanks everybody for being here, and I really enjoy this. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. I'll summarize it, but then I want to actually see if I can swing over here and read Julie's question, because I'm curious in Andrew's answer here. If you're ready, Andrew. Julie asks, he says, what are the ways that COD is reaching out to low-income high school students about the opportunities of COD? What would you do to improve this?
Yeah, I was just actually typing my answer, but I'm glad I have time to.
It's so much easier not to do it in the tab, if you don't mind. I mean,
so I know that there's dual credit programs available right now, and the college is trying to work with local high schools to try and, you know, bring in those high school students and have them look towards COD as their next step and their opportunity towards, whether it's, again, whatever their end goal is. If it's you want an associate's degree, or you want as a bridging program to a 4-year institution, or whatever your career choice is, I know they have that in place. I do think that this is an area that can be ramped up a little bit more and improved in such a way of not only going to more high schools, but really identifying students in need. In community colleges, it tends to be those who need it the most in terms of they don't have the financial capabilities to go off to a four-year institution really of their choosing. They may have the opportunity in terms of their grades or their, they got into that institution, but it's just not in the cards for them for whatever reason. And then they turn to community colleges to have that ability to affordably get the education they need, maybe also work part-time to try and build up those funds to then go off to that four-year institution, again, if that's the choice. So I think identifying those students that are in most need and try and build that a program for them to say, work with us, take some classes, use more dual credits of, you can take this class, you can achieve some credit for your high school, as well as it'll be transferred over to COD to ensure the affordability aspect of that we're not going to waste your time, we're not going to waste your money. Let's squeeze every ounce of it that we can to make sure it's beneficial for you. So more programs like that, and just community outreach on a more broader scale of there's students that, they go to class and that's it. And they don't really interact with whether it's a career service day or, if COD comes and speaks, they may tune out, but really interacting with the community so that when they are around other members, whether it's friends, parents, anyone else, they can hear from them and say, hey, I just heard about this program at COD. Maybe it's something for you that you can check out. So just more community outreach on a broader scale to really, try and bring those students in. Again, try and increase the enrollment numbers, and not only increase the enrollment numbers. So once they're at COD, try and keep them at COD, of really providing them those resources to keep them in class, because a lot of times, sometimes they, again, financially or socially or whatever the issue is, sometimes they lose track and they can't complete the course, can't complete the degree, and they go away. We need to grab those students and bring them back to the classroom and say, hey, what made you leave? Let's identify and see if there's a solution we can provide to bring you back and keep you here and make sure you complete your end outcome or your end goal.
Great. Andrew, did Julie get you the answer? You're muted. Still muted.
Still muted.
So, yeah, I just, my kids are in their 20s, so, this ship has sailed, but I don't remember, seeing opportunities come my way as a parent,
right,
to be educated in the opportunities that the kids would have had with COD, and, be able to direct them in that way. And I think that's, as high school students that want to do things, you've got some that have the capability, but not the self-initiation to make things happen, that need a parent to kind of push. But if it's only coming into the high school and not home to the parents have no idea about what the opportunities are either. And I think that's a big educational point for.
So it's, yeah, I agree. And it's a two-pronged approach of not only identifying them and interacting with them in the high school setting, but there has to be a backstop from the community as a whole, whether it's the parents or just other people they interact with,
right,
to get that double whammy of COD is a resource for you. Because coming from my experience of me going to Illinois State was because I had influence from my high school teachers, and I had those around me in my family that also went there. So if you latch on to either a friend, a family member, or a mentor, someone you look up to that says, hey, I was at this university or I was at this college, it's a good opportunity. You're more comfortable going there, and then you can figure out if there's resources available and lead you in that direction. So,
if Andrew, if memory serves me correct, that means you and Jules are both Redbirds.
I was just going to say, go Redbirds.
Go Redbirds. Absolutely.
I'd like to just, Ian had to join us a little late, and we were talking about some of the good things that Lucy's got in her Daily Herald endorsement, and Allison has recently seen Amy Chavez. You've had a bunch of them, you know, and I think, you know, and you've got, and also you've got some activities coming up. Would you mind, could you care to share with those a little bit? I mean, it's been a pretty good week for you.
Well, actually, I would rather share accolades of just the other candidates, if that's okay.
Well, but I think you're being humble. I mean, you got the Chamber of Commerce, you got that, you got Indivisible Naperville, you got Amy Chavez, so if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it, and then you can go on. Okay.
Well, you know, Mark shared the list. What I was going to share about all of you, though, is I think we're starting to wind up our forum season where we're able to all get together with the 11 of us. And it has truly been an honor and privilege to get to know you through Zoom. Mark, I knew before, but some of you I've really only ever seen through Zoom, Vince or Lucy. I think what I hear is all good faith efforts to move our city forward, and creative solutions. Like, I mean, Lucy, just, you know, huge amount of research that you've done on clean energy and all kinds of things. Mark in the development space, you know, Allison with just an unbelievable record of having attended council meetings, Vince, a long time city service to the city. I can say great things about all the candidates, truly. I will go back and make one comment though, which is, I said good faith, right? All of us are acting in good faith. Efforts to delay a commission's meetings by 4 months are not good faith actions, okay? In my view, when somebody is only trying to torpedo the process, no amount of good faith is going to solve that. We need to have an understanding that this is a democracy and there are ground rules in a democracy. And when you are outvoted, you know, you take hands with the side that won and try to make a good solution. You don't just try to obstruct. If you lose an election, you don't try to find a way to undermine it. And, you know, I just appreciate that everybody in this field is doing the right thing. I do think we need to make some changes in the city, though, because unfortunately, vocal minorities are finding ways to undermine the process.
Do you think, Ian, that the part of that is trying to get on the other side of the new council? Do you think that there's a hope that the one way or the other, the new council will be better? Or you just think it's just a big delaying action in general?
I mean, I think that leadership comes from the top. So if city council is behaving honorably and not trying to embarrass each other and genuinely trying to build bridges and reach solutions, which I really believe the candidate field will try to do, that's a huge step in the right direction. But I think we're not being realistic if we don't acknowledge that there's a national problem right now. There is a growing faction of people who feel, you know, very angry with the process and very willing to overthrow the process if it doesn't go their way. And, you know, I think that needs to be called out.
It's very un-American, isn't it? It's very un-American.
Well, I mean, not just that, it's counterproductive. And the best decisions are not being made at 1 a.m. So when you derail legitimate council business in place of divisive items on the agenda, it's just not productive. And so either, you know, those need to go to the end of the meeting and we actually talk about the things that benefit our residents and we talk about services and all of that council is meant to provide early. And then if you want to have those agenda items that really have no place on it, well, then they can be put at the end. So if you really want to talk about that and derail the meeting by 2 hours, well, then you can derail it at 11 p.m. when it's just talking about an ordinance or a resolution and doesn't require a vote, or you put it up as new business. But it shouldn't derail talking about utility assistance for our residents who don't want to have, you know, who want to be able to get a grant for their heat.
Absolutely.
That's the priority.
This has been a very interesting and diverse discussion today. I've really enjoyed it a lot. We're coming to the end of our hour. There was one question in chat that Phil asked that I'm not quite sure I can honestly say I've heard of no plans to distribute any of the tax revenue that comes from dispensary proceeds. Anybody know when Naperville will distribute dispensary tax proceeds? I'm going to say never, but you know, not that I'm against that, but I think the city recognizes that, particularly with the COVID, that this has been a very important part of a contribution revenue stream, and it seems unlikely that it's going to be redistributed to the citizens. Thoughts?
Maybe we could use clarification on the word distribute. I'm not sure if that was intended to be a refund, or I'm not sure what Phil was getting at.
Fair enough. Phil, are you still with us?
There was a discussion when we had the referendum that this tax money would be used for mental health, for things of that nature.
You know, Phil,
it's quite a substantial amount of money, and I'm just wondering is there any plan for that?
I'm not sure in the budget discussions. I know, you know, that came up. I know at one point they wanted to directly make sure that got channeled to, you know, mental health and things like the initiative through the police department to hire a social worker. And I don't think it's a one-to-one correspondence, you know, from that, but I think that just in general, I think that was part of the push in the budget for the support for getting that social worker within the police department.
You know, I also want to jump in here. I need to do some research into this, but these applications are part of a social equity. Social equities was built into every cannabis application, I believe. And I know one of my friends actually was part of a group that applied for a license, and they have to show what they're bringing to the community in addition to cannabis. So I would like to pull applications and see what they were promising.
I think currently it all does pretty much flow into the general fund at this moment, but I do believe there are initiatives. I know that Councilman Crummett was definitely pushing a initiative to take some of these funds for mental health, which is a very good idea indeed. And I think that's what was being referenced here. But at this moment, I don't think there's anything specific about that. We've kind of pushed over our hour at this point. So unless there's any other pressing questions, I want to thank everybody for their time today. It's been a really good one. I'm really happy to see, you know, delighted that Ian and Lucy had a chance to join us today. Fantastic. This meeting is recorded and will be posted to YouTube by Monday, and you're encouraged to use all or any part of it if you'd like to use it in your campaign. So thank you all again today, and we only have 3 more of these to do before the election. So, you know.
And I hope these conversations keep up. I really appreciate it. It's a great way to get to know people. So
well, I feel that I'm probably going to maybe hand the baton over to Ian, because when he's elected, he's promised town halls. And, you know, this is the kind of format that you want. You want a discussion format and not a lecture. So I think that that's really what you hope to. So we'll keep it going one way or another, I'm sure. And I don't mean to speak for you, Ian, but I love the idea that you'll do that.
Thank you. Actually, I hope that everybody here continues to participate, and whoever gets elected also is using the Zoom format for discussions. I mean, what a great way to talk to voters. Councilwoman Sullivan does an excellent job with that right now. Give her credit for being the first, I think. But hopefully many others.
There is another candidate who's trying to do that on Thursday evenings, but it's not nearly as successful. But I won't mention Jennifer's name. Oops. Anyhow, with that I'll say goodbye. All right. Thanks everyone. Again, thanks for coming back. You know,
Thanks, Mark.
Hope to see you guys again. Bye now.
Bye. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.